Hello, everyone. It's Jessica Pettit here. And who do I have the honor of interviewing today?
This is Brian Wagner with a radical vision.
Excellent. So happy to have you. Full disclosure, I just did Brian's podcast and he's doing my podcast. So, we're all friendsy now. It's very exciting. Mine is not near as formal, probably, or as deep as yours. But as we typically do, I'm going to ask exactly the same questions I do everybody. But it is fascinating to me how different all of the answers end up being. So, Brian, welcome. Are you ready for the first two questions, which are big ideas that are rolling around my brain?
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, I am ready.
Great. So, question number one is the concept of diversity dividend. How does that land on you? What does it mean to you? Full disclosure, the first time I heard it was when a client was asking me about the profitability or the return on investment related to diversity dividend. I can see some positives there. I also have some negative feelings. There's no wrong answer. Diversity dividend, how does that land on you?
I've never heard the term before, so I guess I don't know what to say.
Well, great answer.
There you go.
Yeah, the other one is asterisks, other duties assigned. So this is usually like the last line on a job description.
Yeah.
And some people, including myself, in my actual work experience, have done extra things so that I could build community. And then there's other things that have been given to me that I have not been rewarded for that I didn't want to do, usually related to my identities. So I'm curious, Brian, in your work experience, what kind of other duties assigned have you been asked to do or have you volunteered to do? And what's the difference?
Well, since I started as a speaker, I've been given other duties as assigned in terms of doing workshops. And I typically don't do workshops, but I do because they tell me I'm doing them. That makes me more marketable. I found those workshops are very beneficial. They're helpful. They help me to work through my message. But if I had my druthers, I would just be a keynote guy, and I would stand in front of people and I would talk about my story, read them my daughter's letter, talk about all of what I've gone through and how it can help them to do their jobs, to do their lives, and to have a better experience. So, I that's one thing I would say from a speaking standpoint. What's happened for me is the workshops.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk a little bit more about your work, because one of the things that I think really highlights your unique differences when we're highlighting how all the folks are different from one another is that in theory, you could talk about mental or physical limitations, but you actually talk about the awareness of your mental and physical limitations and then use them and encourage other people to use limitations as levers, is the language you use, to reach out and encourage other people. Can you talk a little bit about that? It sounds very Buddhist to me, right? Like, is that if you're feeling sad, you make someone else feel happy and then you become happy because of their happiness. So how does that work for you in your work?
That is how I work. But really, the process that we take is from a point of blindness to sight to vision. And in that sight part, that's where we start to have more awareness. We then begin to have acceptance. So, I had to have the awareness that I had blindness. I didn't want to accept that. But once I did accept it, and I accepted that my face has changed, and my voice has changed, my tongue has changed. So I have what's called a cavernous malformation in my brainstem, and sometimes it bleeds. And when it bleeds, it puts pressure on the nerves that control my vision. And yes, the vision is one thing, and so my vision gets worse. But also, it sometimes puts pressure on the nerves that control my voice, my tongue, my mouth. So this is a really long-winded answer for me, but I want to help people to understand that they need to accept different things. They need to have that awareness that things are going on, but also having that acceptance And then once they have that acceptance, then they can do something different with what makes them unique. So I know what makes me unique is my voice and my tongue and my mouth and my eyes. But that's what people think makes me unique. And really what makes me unique is my positive personality and how I'm going to share my story with other people in order to have a lasting impact on lives. So that's what I say about making people or helping people to understand what makes them unique.
Well, you're definitely a lover of positivity and happiness. So the very first time I met you, we didn't even meet each other. Like your positive and happiness was talking in a different circle at a conference. Remember talking in circles at a conference? I was in a different circle having a conversation, and someone in the circle I was in was like, "Oh my gosh, have you met Brian yet?" And I was like, "No." And I looked over so that I could like try to memorize you and try to meet you at the conference. And it's one of those conferences that took years then to actually meet you. But
Yeah.
you were like exuding this collective of togetherness, right? And I think that that really talks a lot about your positive attitude, but how you gift that to your audiences. So I appreciate you sharing that today. Are you by chance ready for my two favorite questions?
Sure.
First favorite question, what have you changed your mind about lately? And it doesn't have to be work related. It can be anything.
What have I changed my mind about lately? I have changed my mind about probably about driving, because I told you my eyes don't work as well as they used to. So I'm beginning to change my mind about, and this takes a long time for me to change my mind about something that big. So I don't drive much anymore. And I'm changing my mind because I wanted to get back to it. But I thought at one point I felt like, I needed to get back to driving because I have more independence and all this stuff. But really, I don't want to get back to driving. I want to stay where I am, and I want to have live in a different place where I can get out and do things easily or more easily. But yeah, so driving would be one thing I've changed my mind about. Wow, that's a long-winded answer again.
Excellent. This is the danger of interviewing keynoters. It's totally fine. What do you absolutely know?
I absolutely know that I love my kids. Absolutely. And my wife.
That's awesome. Kids first, though, just to notice.
Yes. Right.
All right.
I feel like I made them.
Yeah. Nice. That sounds great. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Do it.
So I have icebreaker cards. There's more than 50 questions. You gave me 3 random numbers. They're either easy, intermediate, or deep. I'm going to read the question. I'll tell you what level it is, at least according to me. And then you, as quickly as possible off the top of your head, answer it. So the first one is number 9, which is easy to me. And that is, if you were trapped in a TV show for 1 month, which show would you choose and why?
I was trapped in a TV show for 1 month. Which TV show and why? Cheers.
Oh,
I love that place. I love going into Cheers. I love going into a restaurant and knowing people. Back in the day when we went in a restaurant where we knew people. And I love going on vacation and knowing somebody that I'm there with or not there with. So I love to know people. I love relationships. So Cheers.
That's cool. That's such a good, like totally perfectly fitting answer for you. That makes sense. Our number 3, also easy, is what person, living or dead, would you most like to go to lunch with, and what would you talk about?
What person, living or dead, would I like to go to lunch with, and what would I talk about? I would really like to go to lunch with Barack Obama. And I think we would talk about, that's a really, we would talk about, we would talk about the crusade that I'm on and how hopefully he's on it as well. But the crusade is to help people to embrace their own personal blindness to achieve a greater vision for their lives. So that's what my company stands for, and that's what we do. So if I could help to have him understand that uniqueness is an important part of that blindness, not knowing what makes you unique and not knowing how to serve other people, then I think that I think we could start to make some change. And maybe it's not a Barack Obama, it's some other huge financial influential figure in the world that could help me to help other people.
Well, I think you chose well. All right, last lightning round question, deep, according to me, is what is the biggest problem facing the world today and why?
What is the biggest problem facing the world today and why? There are not enough nice people that are willing to do nice things. That's what I would say.
Excellent. That is also a really great answer. Brian, if people wanted to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
You can reach me anywhere at A Radical Vision. So that's ARADICALVISON. A Radical Vision, whether it's on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, my website, radicalvision.com. It's all everything I have is under A Radical Vision.
Excellent. I'll just go to my backyard and scream out A Radical Vision and you'll appear.
There you go.
Wonderful.
Pop up.
Well, thank you, Brian, for being a part of this show. Thank you for letting me be a part of your show. Absolutely. And I look forward to our next conversation in person. Here we go.
You bet.